Welcome to the Straight from the Source's Mouth podcast. Frank talk about sex and dating.
All right. Hello and welcome to episode number 23 of season 2. My name is Tamara and you're listening to the Straight from the Source's Mouth podcast. Today's guests are LaGina Rae and Tameica Bradshaw. We'll be talking about dating and the benefits of taking a break from dating. And if you like this episode, be sure to tell your friends all about it. All right. Thanks for joining me today, LaGina and Tameica.
Hello, hello. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for being here. And Tameica, you're muted.
Then you just say I'm mute. But yeah, so thank you for having me too. It's such a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, awesome. We could do this together. All right, so let's get started. And I'll just say, LaGina also has her podcast as well. And we met through a mentorship program that PodFest has. So if anyone's curious, and then Tameica's a friend from this area. So, all right, let's get started. So what I know we talked a little bit about this, started about our kind of philosophies on dating. And you brought up a good point about how you see dating. So LaGina, do you want to start kind of there of your philosophy and how you take dating?
Yeah.
More of the hanging out, like just something along that line.
Okay. Yeah. Wonderful. Not maybe a philosophy, just like learned behaviors. I am a very, very true to the core millennial. I'm right at the top upper echelon. So I still remember not having an email address, and I'm very tech savvy. Like I hold my phone in my hand and fall asleep with it. So it's really serious. I'm on dating apps and everything else. And I really believe that dating is something you do once you have established a relationship or a partnership with somebody. And then prior to that, it's hanging out, doing that hanging out with intention, being clear about things. I think that when you're clear about your goals and expectations and what you want, and both sides can be more honest, it just makes for an easier go at it, more harmonious. And you find out that you'll meet more people that are more aligned with you than you think. And things don't have to be shrouded in illusion and untruth.
Yeah. Well, and I think I didn't even realize that would be an aspect, but I think the generational thing, because I'm on a Facebook group with many generations as well. And there are a lot of differences in dating in the generations too. So yeah, I'm more old school, being older, Gen X. And it was all about, you go on dates with a few people and then eventually they're your boyfriend kind of thing. So this idea of hanging out till you start dating officially is new to me, but I could see where it'd be helpful.
Well, and I'm not even
your
sure
initial thoughts on.
Yeah, I'm not even sure that's a lot of people versus me and my own individual thoughts. I'm really big even on like my radio show when I have people on and we're talking about relationships. I'm really big on people owning their own thing, right? It's not like, us women, we really feel like this. No, us women don't. All men are like, and I'm like, all men are not. So I really try to individualize my experiences because they're very unique.
Yeah, so dating for me is fun. I look at it as fun, and I learned a lot about dating. Just recently, I was engaged, and I ended that, and I did not take a break. And what I saw that I wasn't doing when I was dating was getting to know people or getting to know the person. So I started getting to know people, like getting to know the person and then deciding if I wanted to, move forward with something. So I didn't leave it in the person's
and that's the hanging out for me. It's the same concept, different words. And I tell people all the time, word things how you want. But to date somebody, air quotes, to be exclusive with somebody, to spend that time with them, I prefer to get to know somebody, hang out with them, make sure they don't annoy me, make sure that they're okay or appreciate the human that I am. And then we can invest more time in a different way. But to always jump into this thing that's called dating, that's really serious. I'd rather hang out with somebody, you buy around, I buy around, we meet up places. And we get to know each other in an intentional way. And sometimes that includes or is not limited to, we're really sexually attracted to each other. So we know we're going to have sex at some point. and we're not really interested in being together in any other way. So let's be intentional and honest about that and enjoy the time we're going to spend together. Can I ask you a question? But you walked away from an engagement. Was it
Yes.
I chose self or?
Yes, I chose myself. Yes. And so in choosing myself, it gave me power. It gave me power to trust myself and to know that, whatever I want, I can have. I don't have to accept anything from anybody just to be with a man. So and what I do with dating, like I tell my clients or I tell other women, date, it doesn't have to be exclusive to dating just one person. When you're getting to know somebody, date multiple people, you know, and just have fun with it. And when you start trusting yourself and you choose yourself and you love yourself, then it's like it's freedom. Like the power is in your hands. So that's what I got from choosing myself choosing myself and just going on dates, getting to know people. I didn't have to like them for normally when I used to date, I would date for the person to like me. I don't do that anymore. Now I'm getting to know the person to see if I like you, if you're worthy of me. So that's what I've learned through dating in these last few
Note
years.
taking. I'm trying to find my pen. I'm like, yes. I mean, it's so aligned, right? Like, that's the thing. Once you're able,
Yes.
what is it? You can't pour into other people's cups if your cup is empty. You can't love somebody if you don't love yourself. And these are all like things that are always said. But when you start applying them and you realize how important they are and how true they are, the value is there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And really going out there and just, doing it, like really getting out there, dating this person. Like, I don't like him. So, you put him in the friend zone and then you date somebody else. Well, I don't like him. I like him a little bit. Maybe we can just hang out. And then, that's how you weed them out.
Yeah, start prioritizing. And I'm someone I like to mention books, and a couple of books come to mind on this topic. The Surrendered Single, I mention it quite often. It talks about that very thing about you're interviewing a guy to see if you like them on a date. You're not trying to impress them. And then the other book, I Suck at Relationships, So You Don't Have to, by Bethany from Bethany Frankel. And she talks about that, the burner method. Like guys have always done that, dating multiple people. And you mentioned it. Like one's becomes a friend zone guy. One's kind of like, if there's nothing else going on, he's kind of like backup guy. And then, kind of categorize them that way. And I used to not do that either. And it wasn't until like 3 or 4 years ago that I started really dating, hanging out / dating, and just getting to know lots of people and not focusing on one at a time. So yeah, I definitely appreciate that advice. And we talked a little bit about taking a break. So I called it a man cleanse / purge. I read a book again about someone that took a man cleanse, and she called it, she's got off all the apps and kind of took a break from it. And then sure enough, of course, she met someone right after she went back on to dating, and ended up, I think, marrying him in that book. But the idea of just taking a break, and I know that Tameica, you talked about taking a break as well. And what did you find out about yourself after taking the break? Or I know I assume you also went on different dates where you do different kinds of things to see what you like as well that way. Or just say more about your break.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was married for 12 years and I got a divorce back in 2015. And so I took a long break. My break was up until 2020. And during that time, during my break, I did date. So I did a lot of self-discovery first. So I vowed that I will make the rest of my life the best of my life. And so I went through a self-discovery and I started just finding out like, what do Tameica like? What do I like? And so I would just travel. I would hang out with friends, go out, date, have fun. And then in 2020, during the pandemic, I met a wonderful person and we got engaged. And like I said, that didn't work out. And during that time, well, before I got engaged, I was scared to date. I dated, but I was scared to be in a relationship. I was scared to be in a relationship. So I had to build up my confidence. I had to build up my confidence to date and open my heart and be vulnerable. And that's what I did. And that's when I met my ex-fiance. And then after that, when that didn't work out, I said, I'm not going to go back into that scared behavior anymore. And so I kept my heart open. I looked at the fun that we had, the love that we shared, and I stayed there. And I was, and now I'm in a beautiful relationship with my partner is a wonderful guy. I opened my heart and I met someone. Well, he was my friend for 10 years, but I was able to see him and let him in.
Yeah.
So I didn't take a break that next go round.
Yeah, so you had already found yourself, so you didn't need to take the break. It's, taking a break kind of implies that there's something you need to discover for yourself. And then, so you already did that discovery and then you were ready for the next relationship, without the break. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yes. Yes.
And I also think that when we're
That's
talking
awesome.
about like breaks and the definition of, how you begin any type of relationship with anything, and all of these charged up phrases and words right now, right? Like self-love and self-care, that looks like something different for everybody. And I really think that because there's so many avenues of and opportunities for people to interject and have influence on yourself, that sometimes even those definitions and what you're doing in those cases can be skewed. I remember when social media really started getting big and people would put their relationships on social media and people would be like hashtag goals and all this stuff. And you never know what's behind the scenes, and you never know how their arrangement works, and you never know what their love language is. The world got shocked to find out that Will and Jada and all this stuff, they've been in an open relationship for a long time, according to their definition of what open relationships look like, working at gay bars for 13 years and being a hetero Black woman. My perception and understanding of relationships is a bit different. And one thing that I really got out of my people is that being honest is like one of the best things you can do. Whatever that is, your needs are your needs, your desires are your desires. You can skew stuff. Settling down is like a toxic term. Like, what is settling, right? Like, versus finding two love languages and two people that can build and grow and form their own thing. I never want to settle down. I want to find somebody that I can create a love language with, of our own fruition, and celebrate it like that. So some of the time, I really do believe that all the words and the phrases that come every 6 months, every year, really play into people's psyche about who it is. So I love, Tameica, that you keep saying that you were looking at yourself and understanding yourself. And it wasn't like books are important, movies are important, podcasts are important, but you only can take so much information in before you have to like suss out what is actually your thoughts and your process on things.
Yeah, I pretty much love everything you just said.
It got so quiet.
What are you going to say about it?
Yeah, and it is true. Like, re- social media put a different spin on relationships and being, like that's the thing to do. But I don't. I believe that the most important relationship comes from being with yourself. That's what I've learned in these last few years of dating, because I've dated some horrible people, and I had to look at myself like, why am I dating these people? And so, yeah, and I just had to, I couldn't blame them anymore. So I had to take responsibility and look at myself like, I'm choosing these people. And that's a hard pill to swallow. Like, I'm literally choosing these people. I'm dating, I'm choosing them. Like, I don't have to choose them. So that's when I just started doing, and I keep talking about, self love, because I'm in a relationship now. And it's a wonderful relationship. And I'm responsible for my part in the relationship, like things that I want, things that I don't like. I get to communicate that openly with him. And he likes it. Just like last night, after I finished work and I was supposed to go to his house, and I didn't feel like it. Normally, I would go just to appease him. But no, I said, I'm not going to come over. I'll see you tomorrow. So again, I just, and he was okay with that, and I just feel that social media, that plays a big part in making relationships false, like
Yeah.
making them not,
Yeah.
and books and
The
stuff
expectation.
too. Yeah, yes, and books and stuff too. I think, but just being like really getting out there, dating, using what you're learning, and then when you choose, you're building your confidence level, and just not being afraid to date, and and being vulnerable and open, and telling the person what it is you want.
She talked about being authentic, and you mentioned you were authentic. You were like honest, like, I don't want to do this. And he was okay with it. And
Yeah.
I just talked to someone else, or a previous episode, and she said, yeah, the right person can hear the wrong, or there is no such thing as saying the wrong thing to the right person. Like, they'll take what you say and be fine with it if they're the right person for you. And I'm finally learning that to do that too, is just say what I really want and need. And a person that likes that is going to stay with you. And if they don't, then they're not the right person for you. So it doesn't really matter. Yeah. Sorry for interrupting. I just wanted to interject that part.
No, yes, it's great. And LaGina is a millennial out here doing it, and dating and getting to know herself, and she's very wise, like right now, because if I was younger and I've known some of the things that she knows now, just I probably would have had a successful
No, and
relationship, marriage.
I don't even know, the most successful relationship that I've ever had is with myself and my turtle. And I think sometimes understanding too much is a lot as well. And I appreciate that you keep saying getting to know yourself and taking these breaks. Both of you ladies are taking breaks. But another thing, that I always encourage people to do is also get to know yourself while you're, whatever you call it, getting to know somebody, hanging out, dating, whatever you want to call that beginning process. Get to know yourself through that too, because people can say all day, I'm self-learning and I'm doing all these things and blah, blah, blah. And you get in a relationship and you go back into the same habits, you go back into the same passiveness, you go back into the same yielding that isn't for the advancement of the relationship, but before the advancement of a male ego, or, and that's very heteronormative speaking, but, in this current lifetime, that's what I am. And so when you're thinking about it, it's really right now what I've been really enjoying. So I've been single since 2017. And I've had the most amazing adventures with amazing guys. Some of them have been horrible too. I knew they were horrible and I was okay with that because of what I wanted from them, right? Or what they wanted from me, and us understanding that. And a lot of me getting to know myself over these years has been while I'm hanging out with somebody, because it makes sure that I'm still exacting and exactly who I am, so that when I do find the partner that I want to be with, they're just getting me. They're not getting the me that's going to be super nice to Tameica and always come with a good attitude because I don't want to offend you. You know what I mean? So I really encourage people not only to take this proverbial break y'all are talking about, but also to go out and, like you said, date several people, hang out with several people, and challenge yourself to always show up like you would when you're hanging out with your homies and your friends.
Yeah, it gives you more practice to be yourself with various people. So it reinforces, like, this is who I am. This is who I am. And if someone challenges that, you get another chance to show who you are and what you think, what you want.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I love that.
And it's really fun too.
No, I was just going to say, I've done this in episodes where we pretty much said everything there is to say, like just do all those things, please.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just makes sense. Yeah. But yeah, it's fun too, like you were saying, to just, and you can do different activities with different people that, this person would like this kind of stuff. So let me ask him to do that. Or, like they're more adventurous, the hiking guy, the restaurant guy, just different stuff.
Is this show
The three
G-rated?
of us for guys.
Like how far forward?
I have it explicit because of a few episodes. Yeah, a few episodes I've definitely gone there. So, I mean, it's rated as explicit, so we can go there if you want.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, keep
And
it
I
real.
mean, to me, none of that stuff is explicit versus like healthy conversation. And so to talk about it, even, while hanging out with people, one of the best sexual experience I had was with myself, and there's a man involved, but really me understanding that like I am literally the master of my own fate when it comes to what's going to go on with me. If I'm not being satisfied, say that. I do not have to make a noise because, oh, this is the time. No, this isn't hitting. Like me enjoying my body while, we are in each other are these things. And I've had the best sexual experiences once I've let go of the expectation that I'm working and performing for him versus making sure that my spots get hit. We are the ones with all the buttons, and the men have like one button. If we're talking non-anal, men have one button. We have multiple buttons.
Yeah.
And if a man is not hitting my multiple buttons, we have a problem. And you get to the end and you've nutted or cummed or whatever we're going to call it. And I'm still sitting here just like, okay, we have a problem because we have multiple buttons. There's like 3 buttons down there,
Yeah.
8 over here. Like you could blow on us. You could blow on me in some ways and I'm going. So me exploring that and being able to be an advocate for myself sexually, I won't say in the bedroom because it's not just the bedroom, but those kind of things matter. And honestly, a lot of women I know out of their own mouth miss out on that because we are taught is a entire sex over half the country or half the world in general is to be, I don't know, pleasing would be the word, or accommodating.
Yeah. Well, this is how I even got started. My stand-up was all about eliminating the double standard that women shouldn't like sex or enjoy sex. And that's where it started for me. And yeah, like there's no reason why we shouldn't ask for what we want. Like we like it just as much as men. I don't where it came from that we don't. And especially when they're doing it right. Especially when it's and I say that both sides aren't necessarily that great and everyone wants to be nice. So everyone's afraid to say anything when it's not working. And there are ways to, maybe, and I actually have an episode on this, how to talk about sex and how to kind of share in a way that will be helpful to the other person versus kind of make them feel bad. So, I mean, this is definitely an area that needs attention as well.
And even when you're talking about, even when you're talking about, you said, ask them. I mean, if you think about it in the bedroom and you're having sex, dudes don't ask like, hey, can you, it's like, do this. Like we are past like a nicety. We are naked or halfway naked, or you can see my body parts and we are in an intimate situation. At this point, I think that we're past like the nicety of being like, hey, buddy, it's more like put your hand here, hold this. You can squeeze tight, whatever it is. Like it's more of this understanding of direction and a mutual understanding of this is what we're doing. Because if you think about it,
versus ask.
Yeah, I've only known 1 or 2 guys that have asked, and I'm like, this is a turn off. Like, hey, I'm like, we're already past that point. I don't think we need to be like, don't stick stuff in crazy holes without asking. That's a different story. But like simple things in a bedroom or wherever is pertinent.
Yeah.
And spice it up a little bit, spice it up. It like you said, if you want to spice it up. Ask them. You have to be assertive in the bedroom. You can't just be passive aggressive. You have to let the person know what you like. Do it this way. Let me turn over. And
yeah.
So that
and guys appreciate that too. They're just as I say clueless. Everyone's we're an enigma to each other's bodies. Like unless you've been with lots of people and studied lots of stuff, there's you don't know everything necessarily. So ask or tell or start and then say, oh, does this work? I had one guy mention afterwards. He'll say like during pillow talk in the cuddle stage, he'll say, oh, what worked for you, or did that work for you when I did this, or kind of talk it through then. But I mean, I'm guessing you would probably say it's a little too late to have that conversation. But as long as you're talking about it and enjoying it and saying what's missing if something's missing.
Mm-hmm. And even the trained roles, you're saying that people that have a lot of sex, some of them are still not good at sex because of whatever it is.
True.
And I talk about this all the time, and everything that I do is audio, whether it's on my podcast or the radio. I talk about the trained behaviors that we have and the things that are supposed to be awkward. Like, why is a woman's period awkward, right? That's what has babies, right? And that's how, the world keeps moving forward. So why is that a bad word? And, why is the conversation of sex not more
taboo to talk
or
about,
less bastardized? Because that's what makes sex dangerous. And that's what makes people, not talk about it and not be honest and start going under this cloud when they do have sex and hide things and lie and be manipulative. It's because it was entered into as a point of darkness. And so you leave it in that spot. Like, even understanding where somebody's sexual level is, right? Some people think that kinky is a pop on the butt, right? Some people think that kinky is having sex under the stars. And then you have people that are all the way on the other side. So when you're spice up with some handcuffs bringing in the bedroom, they're like, that's like, those are the first 3 times I had sex. So even having those conversations ahead of time, but it goes back to what I said about like setting an expectation and being honest with somebody. Like, I'm a very sexual human. And guys be like, "Oh, you're a freak." I'm not a freak. That's something that is a society thing that has been brought in when women are sexually aligned with themselves. I love sex. I'm aligned with myself. I understand things. There have been times where I've had 3 or 4 sexual partners. They've all known about it individually. Never had a threesome. Unfortunately, maybe one day. And then there's some times where I'm monogamous with somebody for years at a time. And there have been times where I haven't had sex for a year or 2. And people are like, "What? How do you do that?" It's what I want to do at the time. And I'm honest about it. So.
Yeah. Yeah. And you mentioned your show, and we are getting close to, I try to keep it around 30 minutes. So you mentioned your other shows. Do you want to talk about those now, just so people can find you? And I know Tameica is an aspiring podcaster to be. So yeah, if you want to share your shows, LaGina.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. Always shout out to PodFest for connecting me to amazing people. Tameica, plan your podcast out, do it, do industry research, find a special nichification and get going. It's the best journey ever. So my name is LaGina Rae. I have a family of podcasts. It's Rae Infinity Let's Talk podcast. My podcasts are all about normalizing conversations in, through, and around women. The first podcast is just called Rae Infinity Let's Talk. It's women telling their unapologetic stories in a real way of celebration and the story they often don't tell because we are told that those stories aren't supposed to be told, or we're supposed to keep those tight to make people comfortable. And we're currently casting for season 4. I have Let's Talk on the side. That's me ranting and raving about just random things, coded language, dating apps. Sometimes I'll have people on and we just have quick fireside chat conversations. And then my third podcast is called Let's Talk to Men About It. And Let's Talk to Men About It is bringing men into the conversation about women. It's not a battle of the sexes. It's an open, honest, real conversation between a man and a woman about their observations, their experiences, and their walk with women. And I also ask, how can they better show up? And they get 2 freebie questions at the end, because men don't always get an opportunity to get it right, to get it wrong, to get it right. And so we just open up the mic and have really honest conversations. And so the Rae Infinity Let's Talk podcast, I have all of them on the major platforms. And my website is LRILetstalk.com, where you can find my radio show that is on All Real Radio every Thursday night, mostly live. And it's called Stomping Ground with LaGina Rae, celebrating the journey, the culture, and our experiences walking through this world.
All right. Awesome. That all sounds amazing. I especially like the freebie questions for the guys, because I know a lot of guys do get it wrong and then they get just hammered for it. And let them learn from it versus, get upset with them. I was in a Facebook group where that happened. Everyone jumped on him, and I kind of tried to defend a little bit and explain. And, he never came back because he got too much from people. So yeah, thank you very much, LaGina, for sharing all of that. I'm sure everyone will be interested, and we'll run right over. And thank you, Tameica, for being on your first time on a podcast and aspiring podcaster. So I appreciate the conversation. I'm glad we got to go to the stuff at the end. We covered all the dating stuff so well. I was like, all right, let's go there. And I've had those same exact conversations about sex and feel the same, very similarly. So thank you again. I appreciate it very much, Tameica and LaGina.
Straight from the Source's Mouth podcast, frank talk about sex and dating.
Frank talk, sex and dating, educate.